Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And today is September the 15th, 2016. On a beautiful Thursday, we have some NFL football coming up. We'll be talking about that tonight with the Bills playing the Jets. Also, I want to say thank you very much to all of our good old boy friends out in Latin America. So bienvenidos to you, and also our good friends up in Canada, as well as Dubai, and of course Australia. I even checked the Twitter tweet, and we have people in from Poland that actually listen to Charlton and Big C Sports. So I want to thank you very much for that. Also starting our sports business with Cindy Chavera, and she's helping me out with G5 Textiles, and we're going to be doing a lot to offer uniforms to all the sports teams. But Big C, speaking of uniforms to all the sports teams, how's it going for you good old boys down south? I hear that Lynn Swan, they're missing some jerseys from USC. They're thinking that some of the good old boys from Alabama kept some of the USC jerseys as souvenirs, Big C. Is that true, Big C?
Well, probably they kept them. They're using the store mats, something to wipe off the feet when they come in the house.
That's funny, Big C.
Down here today, I feel like a fat guy at a salad convention, Charlton. I think there's something to eat. The heat is getting to me, so I might lose a few pounds, so I know I couldn't get into one of those jerseys.
Well, nothing wrong with losing a few pounds, Big C. In fact, I looked at some of the things that happen out here in California, with the tailgating. There's so many people, Big C, that take the barbecue grill. If you ever go to the Raider games, I'm sure they have it all over the country, but a lot of the Raider games, and they're getting ready to play the good old boys from down south, the Atlanta Falcons. I think they call them the Dirty Birds, Big C. I don't know why they call them the Dirty Birds from the Dirty South, but they have barbecue with the ham hocks out here. They barbecue ham hocks. They got pig's feet. They got, of course, the ribs and the chicken and all that good stuff. Hot links, Big C. Do you guys find the same kind of thing with the overindulgence in food, the way you guys overindulge in moonshine down south, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you got to realize the home of the tailgating is down in the south. This is where that sport, and it's not a party, it's a sport.
It's a sport. Yeah.
And you talk about using part animal. Down here in the south, they use the whole animal. The
whole
hog, the whole sheep,
yeah,
the whole cow. Charlton, when the tailgating starts here in the south, it's a 2-day event.
Yeah.
They show up on Thursday and don't leave until Sunday morning when it's time to go to church. That's it. But, it is a party. When you look at an SEC game here in the south, Charlton, ACC game down in the south, it's a festival.
Yeah.
You'll find 20 to 25,000 people outside of the stadium because it's the most exciting place to be. You got the big screen TVs, you got the game noise,
yeah,
but you got all this food and beverage, adult beverage that you can drink.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Big C, when you talk about adult beverages, I've never seen so much overindulgence in food, and you think, where does all this food come from? So all you guys that are overeating and overindulging, Big C, you're not alone. In fact, I got to undo my just to do the show, Big C, because sometimes I tend to eat too much cake. But I want to also ask you, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And if you're looking at the one that Big C turned in, he probably has some leftover moonshine and some hot links on the seat, Big C. So you gave away the story, Big C, on the hot links in the Cadillac, Big C.
Well, you think about it. That's where that all came from, Charlton. We had to get him back out of the woods, and so he laid in the back comfortably and quiet. Didn't make a noise.
Didn't make a noise.
After we loaded him up. So,
well,
but he went on the grill quite peacefully.
Well, Big C, that's so funny. You train animals to go quietly into the night, but I understand that, Big C. And speaking of going quietly into the night, what's up with the good old boys? Dabu Swinney at the University of Clemson down there in Death Valley. He made it. I think might be related to Trent Dilfer, Big C, because he wants everyone that's intelligent to shut up. Now, if you go to college, it's supposed to be to enlighten yourself, to become more erudite and more well-read. But here's a coach in Dabu Swinney. I like him as a coach, but he's telling people, don't be like Muhammad Ali. Don't speak up for other people. Don't be like a Tommy Smith. Don't speak up for other people. And definitely don't be like Lyndon Baines Johnson, who wanted the Kerner Commission, and speak up for other people. Why is he, as a coach, he's made millions of dollars, in fact, tens of millions of dollars, off of free labor, predominantly African-American athletes. He has a Heisman Trophy candidate as a quarterback, African-American. He's telling these guys to shut up and just play football. I think that's wrong, but he's made tens of millions of dollars off of guys in their athletic prowess. Why does he want them to be dumb and just be athletic, Big C?
Well, I think, Charlton, first of all, he might want to change his name from Dabu Sweeney to Damn Fool Sweeney. You know, because to make those type of statements, you know, this is part of the Trent Dilfer, Donald Trump stupidity school, okay? We're going to take America back. You know, Dabu Sweeney's from the South. Mm-hmm. And he's of that Good Old Boy Network.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you talk about telling athletes, and we've talked about how polarizing sports is, Charles.
Yeah.
How more people pay attention to sports than anything else.
Yeah.
For Dabu Sweeney to come out of the box and air on Colin Kaepernick, he's way out of line.
Yeah.
Okay? His modus operandi is wrong when he does that, you know, and he should come out and apologize.
Yeah.
Here it is, a college coach crossing over into the professional ranks. If he was a grown man, he'd be coaching football.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But he's coaching little boys because that's the mentality he has. He's a little boy's mentality in coming out making those type of statements. But what he is saying, and we've talked about this for months, Charlton, on our program, is that this free labor and this free money. Now, he makes $4.5 million a year in Clemson. That's his base salary without the bonuses.
So he's only making half of what Nick Saban in Alabama's making, Big C?
Well, just a little bit under, over half.
Okay.
But when you think about that, Charlton, he's making $4.5 million.
Yeah.
Now, they don't have 100 players under scholarship. I think the NCAA maximum is 65, 68 scholarship players on a team. Even if $40,000 a year for scholarship players, they're still turning a profit on their salary.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure...
And in university... Go
ahead, Big C. I'm sure he doesn't tell the athletic director and the people that write his paycheck that they should sit down and shut up when they have to bring up something that's going to help you open your mind. And when I think about this, and it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, but for all of these people that tell athletes to sit down and shut up, just play sports, they have to understand that Dr. Martin Luther King went through the same type of garbage. They've always told people to shut down when it was for a black cause. And all Kaepernick is saying, now Dabu Sweeney, he's so comfortable being paid millions of dollars off the efforts of mostly black labor. And if he wants them all to sit down and shut up, what if all his black athletes had a boycott of the football game this Saturday that Clemson's going to play? Do you think he would shut up, or would he come out and say, hey, well, let's find out what's going on, how we can solve this problem? Because a lot of those players, when he says sit down and shut up, he's telling them, don't try to make life better for yourself. Don't try to make life better for your kids. And don't try to make life better for other black Americans. Just play sports and make me rich, and you shut up and keep doing it. That's what he's saying, but he's so comfortable being a good old boy down south that he can say it, just an ignorant statement from a person who gets free labor. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, that's the statement that he made not only to his players, Charlton, but to the nation.
Yeah.
When you talk about disrespecting, people talk about the flag, okay?
Yeah.
That they're disrespecting the flag. What is he disrespecting? People are going to say that Dabu Sweeney didn't respect anybody. This, you know, for telling people to sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
That his players do not have the right to voice their opinion because they're free slave labor down in the South.
Yeah.
And we can take your scholarship. And I like the point that you made, Charlton. What if all the players said, we're going to sit this one out, coach?
Yeah.
You go and play with your white players and see how successful you are.
Yeah.
Tell them to shut up. Tell them to struggle picking up the blitz.
Yeah.
Making the block. Catching the passes downfield.
Yeah.
Because when you look at his starting lineup, Charlton, I'm going to guarantee it's at least 80% African American.
It is. It's 80% African American.
Yeah. When you look at Clemson's starting lineup,
yeah.
This is a team that was second in the nation to Alabama last year in the national championship game.
Yeah.
But Dabu Sweeney came out and made this statement. I haven't heard any other college football coach cross the line and going into the NFL saying what NFL players should and should not do.
Yeah.
I don't know what gave Dabu Sweeney the right. Maybe drinking too much moonshine.
Maybe not drinking enough.
Boys that came in and had press on.
Well, think about
I got some liquid courage in me.
And think
but
about
it was stupid and asinine on his behalf, just as well as Trent Dilfer, to chastise a player on a social cause. When you never had to walk that line, Charlton, you never had to worry about being intimidated, threatened, and fear for your life from people who are supposed to be protecting your life, Charlton.
And see?
It's no different than the little boy that was 13 years old in Columbus, Ohio yesterday that was shot and killed for carrying a toy gun. Tell me, Charlton, in America, how many white children under the age of 15 are shot and killed walking around with a toy gun?
Yeah,
now, these toy guns are sold by American manufacturers, Charlton, by American stores.
Yeah.
They are putting them in the hands of children for profit, okay?
Yeah.
Nothing else but for profit. But you have African-American children losing their lives from law enforcement for using this product that's sold in American stores such as Walmart.
Yeah.
Across the country. You lose your life for going out. I remember every kid in America, Charlton, had a toy gun.
Yeah.
We watched all the westerns and all of that, and our parents bought us these little gun sets, these 6-shooters that we carried in holsters walking around.
Yeah.
Think about the tragedy that could have occurred in those days in comparison to now in letting a child be a child based on what he sees on television.
Well, Big C, that's so important to me. And I also want to say that this segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. Also, we are endorsed by the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. We work with all of the unions under the AFL-CIO, and the unions are what made the NFL so big because they have union workers that build the stadiums and also throughout the country, the teachers and truck drivers, etc. And we're also looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to go to work. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network if you're looking for work. One more thing I'll bring up about Dabo Swinney, and I want everyone to understand this. I think Skip Bayless, again, we talked about it last time. I have so much respect for him. He left ESPN and went over to Fox Sports. Now, as an African-American broadcaster, I'm not a sycophant person, and I refuse to be that kind of person that Dabo Swinney said to shut up and just talk about the football game. Because think about this, whether you're black or white, it's for some reason it irks a lot of people when anyone talks about a black cause. I remember the Million Man March that Louis Farrakhan had put together a couple of decades ago, and all of us talking about was having responsibility and how to work together the same way a lot of our Jewish Americans do, and a lot of our Latin Americans, they work together. A lot of black Americans do, but when they made a national acclaim about it, a lot of people fought that. I want to make this point, Big C. If Dabo Swinney really has a concern about taking these young men that he recruits, he goes into black homes, okay? He's talking to these black parents that want to send their kids to play for the University of Clemson. Now, if you're a black parent and he's coming into your house, I want you to understand something. He's telling you, just come play sports. I don't want to hear you being smart. I don't want you to see you do what Marcus Garvey talked about, reading and writing and being more intelligent. He just wants you to be big, dumb, and black and play sports for him. And unfortunately, that attitude is too pervasive. But as more guys start talking about how they really feel, Big C, that's what people should be protesting, not Colin Kaepernick, Big C, and his freedom of speech. Your thoughts on that?
Well, you're so accurate about that acronym there, Charlton. But, Dabo Swinney, he's voicing white America, Charlton.
Yeah.
Being realistic, if you want to talk about it. How many times do you have to have a town hall meeting?
Yeah.
How many times do you have to have a quorum on ESPN? These things are meaningless, Charlton. Yes, they're window dressing. They look pretty. They're like putting a dress on a pretty woman. Wow, she looks nice.
Yeah.
Okay, but after that evening and that dress has to go back to the store, what does it mean? I mean, we're looking at Cinderella, okay,
yeah.
Charlton? This is Cinderella in the glass slipper. She dresses up, drives down the street, turns some mice into horses. That's what they're talking about having these quorums.
Well, let me ask you this question.
It's only momentary.
But
we have not talked about a solution, and that's where the problem is.
And see, the solution is when you don't, when you talk, is when you have dialogue. That's when you have solution. If you're in law enforcement and you want to tell the honest officers to get rid of the bad officers, it's going to take dialogue. I'm sure the bad ones are going to say, sit down and shut up. Just go out and do your job. If you want to have a solution about equal pay for women and men, you can't tell the women who say that we're underpaid to sit down and shut up. If you're an African American in this society and you understand the Kerner Commission, which again was issued by Lyndon Baines Johnson, I wish everyone would go back and read that when they're critical of Colin Kaepernick, because the same views that he espoused, they've been espoused over a half century ago. So it's not like he's making it up, Big C. And as we get into the NFL, I just want you to keep this in mind for everyone who follows sports. Okay, if you just want someone dumb, if you just want someone who's not intellectually intelligent, you want someone intellectually vapid, that would not be a good broadcast, but that's what a lot of people are telling young black men to do, and even young white men. And again, I applaud Skip Bayless. I wonder if he would tell Skip Bayless to sit down and shut up when he's saying, what can I do to help make life better for all people, not just black Americans, Big C. And as we transition into the NFL, Big C, away from Dabo Swinney and his ignorant comments, count him up with Trent Dilfer. Maybe they'll sit down and have some moonshine together, Big C. But a big game tonight in the NFL on Thursday Night Football. You have the Jets and the Buffalo Bills. Great game coming up. And I know the Ryan brothers, the sons of the late Buddy Ryan, I know they're trying to do a lot of good things up in Buffalo, but the Jets have a good team. This should be a close game tonight. But your thoughts on what it's going to take for either team to win this game tonight, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I'm going to touch on that in a second, and I want to expand on our last subject just a little bit more.
Yeah.
When you talk about women being treated unfairly in sports.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on 3 women that were trailblazers. I want to touch on Pam Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
I want to touch on Laura Oku. And I want to touch on Colleen Dominguez.
Yeah.
All of these women of late have been working for Fox Sports.
Yeah.
But they're all in their 50s, Charlton, and Fox Sports have told them because of high definition,
Yeah.
they no longer want them to do as many games.
Wait, say that again. They said because of what, Big C?
Because of high definition television, and it shows their age. But you don't see men being replaced because of the age. But Charlton, what they're devoiding the fans of that are listening is experience and expertise.
Yeah.
These women have spent a couple decades roaming the sidelines, having relationships with the players and the coaches, getting the insight. But they decided that they want to replace them with these younger, so-called prettier women.
Yeah.
That really don't understand, and I'm not knocking women at all here, Charlton.
Right.
But don't have the experience and the knowledge of the sport.
I agree.
That these veteran reporters had, Charlton. And when you look at these veteran reporters and you replace them with these youngers, who are you trying to woo? The people who are going to watch football are going to watch football. But people who watch football, Charlton, are so intelligent that they want the best expounded back to them by whether it's the booth or the sideline reporter. And, I feel that's a terrible injustice to women in sports and women in total. That if you get a little age on you, that you're expendable and you're no longer a professional.
Well,
so let's get back to the game
tonight,
Charlton.
I want to touch one more thing on that too, because I want to fight for women, and I want to bring this up to you because it's so important. Sexual assault is up in the country on college campuses. Okay, I don't know if it's up because people have cell phones or because they report it more, but we have a show that we talk about no tolerance for any type of violence toward women. So I know Dabo Sweeney and Trent Dilfer, they want us to just shut up and talk about sports. But if you have a daughter or a woman in your life that you care about, you don't have to have that to care about women and being safe on college campuses. And I'm asking for all of our men, if you have any knucklehead behavior, we got to protect our women. I don't care if it's a social issue and Dabo Sweeney wants you to not talk about it and Trent Dilfer wants you to shut up and just talk about the score. Let's keep our women safe, because from what I'm understanding, it's more and more on the rise, Big C. I hope that shows like Charlton and Big C Sports can bring a consciousness to it. And yes, we will talk about that, Big C. And we'll go right back to you with the NFL. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, we're looking at the game tonight, Charlton, between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Charlton, this is a game of desperation.
Yeah.
You have to realize if you start 0-2 in the NFL, only 18 teams that have started 0-2 have made the playoffs.
Wow.
Since the history of the merger.
Yeah.
So your chances of making the playoffs after a loss tonight is almost impossible. So when you think about these two teams playing, Charlton.
Yeah.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is only 1-8 against Rex Ryan.
Wow.
1-8. And so his chances of winning are not always at great. Rex Ryan knows this guy for some reason. But also I got to look at Rex Ryan and his new defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
His buddy. His brother, rather.
Yeah. They're buddies. Now, brothers can be buddies, Big C.
Now, you got to look at the New Orleans Saints defense last year, Charlton. One of the worst in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he brings in his brother Rex.
Yeah.
And makes him the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Now, prior to Rex Ryan becoming the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Charlton, they had 58 sacks previous season prior to him becoming the head coach.
Yeah.
Now, he brings his brother in as defensive coordinator. I believe the New Orleans Saints had 27 sacks last year. I may be off a sack or two.
Right.
But about 27 sacks last year. Now, how is he going to improve this defense?
Yeah.
That was a game away from getting to the playoffs.
Are you saying there's something wrong with nepotism, Big C? You can't hire your brothers? Is that what you're trying to say, Big C?
Well, I've got to look at the qualified African-American defensive players that have been in the NFL, and even
didn't Trent Dilfer say don't talk about social issues, Big C? Didn't he tell you that?
If you look at Lovie Smith, who was fired as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from last season.
Yeah.
When the Rams won the Super Bowl, Lovie Smith was the defensive coordinator of the team that held the offenses in check. Now, he's a solid defensive mind and has never really had a bad defensive team. He was in Chicago, and he took them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But you bring in Rex Ryan, You know, and he brings in his brother.
Yeah.
Who can't coach and needs a life band, you know, sir, you know, to step in a little bit.
If that's eating too much chicken and beef ribs and all that deep fried food, you good old boys get introduced to him down in Louisiana. That's not his fault, Big C.
He ain't everything on the plate except salad and vegetables.
Okay. Well, that's funny. Now, you knew the late Buddy Ryan. What would he say about his two sons having a job when they're not that successful in the league, Big C? Just your thoughts on the late Buddy Ryan, what he would say.
Well, you know, I look at Buddy and knew him very well, but, you know, I look at the time when he wanted to fight Kevin Gilbride on the sideline when they were with the Houston Oilers. Right. Because the offense wasn't being productive.
Yeah.
I think, you know, with the defensive lack of productivity, he was putting foot in both his sons' butts.
I'm sure he has. I'm sure he has it sometime over the years, Big C. When you think about it, I think that when you look at that game and you think about why it's going to be a competitive game, it's only a 1.5 point favorite for the New York Jets, favored by 1.5, but they're at Buffalo. That's a game where Tyrod Taylor really has to control the ball better as a quarterback. I think Buffalo has a great running game, but there's something about this series when they're going to play each other, kind of an all-state New York rivalry there. But you did mention some good points about the brothers not having success, but they're also given more opportunity again compared to some of the African-American brethren that don't get the same kind of favorite, Big C. But another game I want to get to as we just get ready for, and we'll get into a few more topics, but I just want to ask you, we look at Detroit and Tennessee. Detroit's a 5.5 point favorite over Tennessee, and I know they have Stafford. They don't have Megatron anymore, but I really like the backfield of the Tennessee Titans led by Mariota. Your thoughts on them? They have Henry out of Alabama, your favorite college program, and just your thoughts quickly on that game, the Detroit 5.5 favorite over Tennessee.
Well, you know, Tennessee couldn't muster the offense last week against the Minnesota Vikings, Charlton, so that's a troubling point for them.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Vikings were technically playing with a backup quarterback. You know, had a 75-yard interception return for a touchdown, but you could only get 2 touchdowns on the board as a Titan offense. On the other hand, when you look at what Detroit did, Jim Caldwell did an excellent job as head coach, African-American coach of the Detroit Lions. Having diversity in his offense, they utilized 2 running backs, you know, Riddick and Abdullah out of Nebraska. And they have a very balanced passing attack now.
Yeah.
That's the difference in Detroit is they have a balanced passing attack. Hugh Stafford, looking at him last week versus the Colts, he looked like a reborn quarterback. He was aggressive.
Yeah.
He took control of the offense. He showed leadership, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what he hasn't showed in the past. I think he was a little butthurt because of publicity that certain other players got.
Yeah.
But now he understands if the Detroit Lions are to be successful, he has to be successful as a player and as a leader.
Yeah.
So I give the advantage to Detroit in this game. You know, they look really good against Indianapolis, even though Indianapolis hasn't done anything in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But they look good, and I like what Jim Caldwell, the head coach, the direction that he's taking this team, Charlton.
Well, speaking of direction of taking this team, this segment is sponsored by your California Lottery. What could a buck do for you? And also, Big C, I keep saying that we're going to win that Powerball, that Mega Million. You know, it's up to $240 million now for the Powerball. That's going to be on Saturday. But the Mega Million is up over $130 million, and that's on Friday in California. I keep saying it's going to be won by Charlton and Big C Sports. And I keep reading in the Bible, you good old boys down south, until football came along, you guys studied the Bible all the time, Big C. And Matthew 7:7 says, ask and you shall receive. And so, God, we're asking again. And I've even told T.D. Jakes, you know, send some of that money back that I've been sending you if you can't pray for me. And you too, Creflo Dollar. Big C, have you prayed to those guys for money too?
Well, Charlton, what we do is the Bible down here is called a sports page, as well as the financial section.
Right.
Sports page. That's where life begins.
Yeah.
You know where it is financially and where the truth is.
Yeah.
And so that's what we look to, and we wake up every morning and praise what's going on in the world of football.
Yes.
And so we put our money behind the numbers. So you pick some numbers from a player on a team that you like, and it shall be delivered to you.
Well, that shall be delivered. Also, one more time, I went to the church one time recently, and I asked them for prayer. They asked me for money. I said, I gotta pray. I gotta pay for prayer. So maybe that's where I'm getting it wrong, Big C. But also back into the NFL, you know, Carson Wentz out of North Dakota State actually had a decent game in his first game, so I'm proud of him for that. I still don't think he's ready. But are the Eagles are they going to foolishly have Carson Wentz be the savior for that team? And I think it's kind of a bad thing that he had a decent game, over 270 yards in his first game against Cleveland. Cleveland's not a good team, Big C. I do wish the guy well, but I just don't think he's going to carry them to the promised land. Your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, Charlton, he had a decent game against a team that hasn't played well in the past decade.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at Cleveland, they've been a lackluster program. You know, they got their starting quarterback hurt in the game. So, you know, this Hugh Jackson's the new coach there.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while to turn that program around. But when you look at what happened with Philadelphia,
yeah,
Carson Wentz, the opening drive of the game, took them down at 75 yards, scored the opening touchdown of the game on a nice fade route.
Yeah.
So, but, you know,
well, Johnny Manziel also scored a lot of points on that defense too, Big C. So that's not really a good test. Just your thoughts on that.
But when you look at the longevity, I mean, people will figure out Carson Wentz and what the Philadelphia Eagles did.
Yeah.
You know, the Cleveland Browns are not one of the more elite teams, but they play in the NFL East.
Yeah.
Who is strong in the NFL East? Nobody. You got the Giants, you got the Cowboys, you got the Eagles, you got the Redskins. Only one of those teams won, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you look at that division, you know, it's not the strongest of divisions. So time will catch up with it. Young quarterbacks coming into the NFL very rarely take a team to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
You know, one game does not make a season. One game does not make a career. You give all the praise to the Eagles for having them prepared for that game. But, you know, it's a 16-game season, Charles.
Well, it's a great for him because they're playing the lowly Chicago Bears, and Chicago's a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 43 points. That game's in the Windy City, Big C. So if there's a chance for him to get out in a mirage looking 2-0, it is against the Bears. But even the Bears, as bad as they are, they're favored by 3, actually 3.5 over Philadelphia. Do you agree with that, Big C?
Well, you know, I don't know how you can favor the Bears over anybody, Charles.
Right.
You know, it's amazing they even make it out of the locker room these days. Once proud franchise, you know, the monsters of the Midway.
Buddy Ryan's defense. Buddy Ryan's
you
defense.
Know, with Mike Dicker, Buddy Ryan on defense. I mean, this was a proud Heritage team.
Yeah.
But they've fallen on hard times, and they've fallen on real hard times riding the coattail of Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler is not the answer in Chicago. He's the answer to not having a win.
Yeah.
But he's not going to get you to the promised land. So it's time to cut ties with Jay Cutler. Look elsewhere, even if they have to wait on the draft to come around, because there's going to be several good quarterbacks coming out of the draft. But Jay Cutler is an anchor on the Chicago Bears offense. And so I don't expect Chicago to have much productivity. I look for Carson Wentz to start his pro career 2-0.
Last segment, Big C, and this is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. Tweet out the Charlton Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. I'm also looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to put people to work. We're not going to tell you to sit down and shut up like Trent Dilfer and Dabu Sweeney. We are trying to put people back to work. But Big C, you know, it's actually becoming more and more real when we talk about reality. We also joke a lot about Las Vegas and their influence. Las Vegas is talking about an NFL franchise coming in. They're thinking about the Raiders. They're going from $500 million. They're putting up $750 million. They're just asking Oakland to match that, Big C. Could we see the Raiders, as they come back to glory, going to Las Vegas? I think that would be a really bad thing for the NFL, Big C.
It would be a bad thing for the NFL, Charlton, for a professional team to be in Las Vegas. Economically, I don't see how it would benefit the Raiders or the NFL. Charlton. It's going to really hurt the players financially. To have that much free time in a mecca such as Las Vegas, unlimited gambling, debt on these players. So that's a big problem. But Charlton, going to Las Vegas, dealing with that intense heat on players, that's going to create health problems. You know, you look at the team in Arizona, the Cardinals. When they played at Sun Devil Stadium.
Outside.
There was a lot of problems, and they had to make it all-night games. Now, if they're talking about putting a stadium in Vegas,
they'll do a dome.
It has to be a dome.
They'll do a dome. I'm just thinking about the gambling. Go ahead, Big C.
That's not enough money to build a dome stadium, Joe. To build a dome stadium in Vegas, you're going to need close to $2 billion. Because you got to think about the massive air conditioning that you have to put into this place, Charlton, to keep it cool, to keep it climate control. So you're talking close to $2 billion, which I don't see Vegas putting up, you know, $1 billion towards this city, because you got to spend a lot of money. It's going to be between $1.8 and $2 billion to build this stadium. I think it's far-fetched, and I hope it's far-fetched, because there are too many cities in the National Football League that are deserving of keeping their teams. And if there's one, it's Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
They've been pillaged by this ownership before moving to Los Angeles, and now I'm talking about moving for a second time.
Yeah.
If the NFL owners have any cojones, Charlton, they need to block this move until Vegas is off the playing surface.
Well, Big C, this might not make a lot of sense, but Oakland is an area that has a lot of African-American families that actually make money when the Raiders are in town. And I know we talk about Black Lives Matter, etc. If in a lot of cities, they build their new stadiums into the inner cities, but taking a team out of Oakland that's meant so much to the Bay Area, and especially the African-American that has a lot of seasonal employment opportunities, I think that's another hit and a financial blow. And I know Trent Dilfer and Dabu Sweeney say, shut up, don't worry about it, just play football. I just don't think that's a good thing for the league to allow people to move just like you move. You can sell a house and move when you want to, but the NFL to let their franchises become transient, I just don't think that's good for the league itself. And this last segment is sponsored by BeneathThisWingsFoundation.org. Contact Cynthia Evans of CYNN Entertainment when it comes to promotion. She's the best in Northern California. Also, I mentioned our company, G5 Textiles. We'll be offering uniforms for everyone throughout the world. Big C, the final thing I want to bring up, and I know you love college football, and you actually brought to my mind this game that has playoff implications now is not just Ohio State and Oklahoma. It's actually a game with Houston and Cincinnati they're playing this week that has huge national championship implications because one of these teams could be that Cinderella team that gets in, especially Houston, Big C.
Well, you know, that game is going to be tonight, Charlton. We all saw Houston knock off Oklahoma.
Yeah.
In a dominant fashion. Houston is 2-0 going into this game with Cincinnati. Cincinnati has an excellent quarterback. They have excellent receivers. So this could be a true challenge for Houston. This is going to be a wide-open shootout tonight.
Yeah.
You know, people talked about Houston being that bubble team, possibly making it to the playoffs, but you can't overlook the University of Louisville, Charlton.
Yeah.
The University of Louisville plays Florida State this week, which I think will be the best college football game of the season. I'm expecting at least 100 points scored between these two teams. You got Francois from Florida State at quarterback. You have Jackson and Louisville, two of the most dynamic young quarterbacks in college football, and they're going to be great leaders out on the field and create a lot of excitement for their teams. But Houston, if they run the table, it's going to be hard for the selection committee to say, hey, they don't qualify, but they'll come down with some excuse saying strength of schedule and all of that. Every team plays who they're slated to play. Ohio State in the opening week of the season played who? Bowling Green? How strong was that? They beat them 7-7.
Ohio State thought they were playing basketball. That's why they scored so many points, Big C.
You know, it's like Alabama playing USC.
But you guys have the USC playbook, so that's a little bit different story. Thank you very much, Steve Sarkisian.
You know, when you schedule these so-called cake cup games, anybody who schedules a team that is not in the top 30, and let's not say 25, the top 30, should always have an asterisk if they're going to make the playoffs. You cannot be making the playoffs and have three teams on your schedule that are Division I AA schools, Charlton, or lower-tier, non-power conference schools. When you do that, there's no justification saying that you're the national championship. Even the game that Alabama played last week against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky gave a better game than USC.
They didn't have the playbook. That's why Big C. Lynn Swan's actually getting a little bit upset that you keep talking about his Trojans. They're talking about trading that horse for an elephant because of you guys down south. So take a little easy on Lynn Swan, Big C.
All they got to do is paint him gray, Charlton. He'll be okay.
Okay, sounds good.
But when you look at this, when you talk about leveling the playing surface in college football, you cannot go out and schedule these games just for financial reasons for another university, bringing them in, beating up on their players. You know, it's like Michigan beating up on Hawaii. After they had flown 30,000 miles in a week, they had nothing left. They just came in and said, hey, whatever you want to hang up on the scoreboard, put your 63 points up already.
That's so funny.
But instead of playing these cupcake schedules throughout college football, looking good for the alumni and the fans, the local fans, play some quality opponents. Be like the NFL, where you have to play a competitive game every week to make the playoffs. The NFL doesn't say, okay, because you're 10-6, you're not making the playoffs. But if you bracket and cover, you're going to be in the playoffs. So to have undefeated teams in college football, Charlton, is unrealistic. Let's make everybody who is in these power conferences play power schools.
Well, I agree.
Even if you look at the SEC, the Big 12, the Big Ten,
Yeah.
the background, they don't all play all the conference schools every year.
No, they don't.
If they did, Charlton, then they would not be undefeated.
Yeah.
So you should have to play every school in your conference every year. You might have one out-of-conference game,
Yeah.
but the rest of your schedule should be conference schools to have a true conference championship, Charlton.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And also, just jumping briefly into the Major League Baseball, we have the playoffs are starting to shape up right now, and some great games tonight. You have Tampa Bay at Baltimore. The Yankees are at the Boston Red Sox. Oakland's at Kansas City. And Toronto's, they're playing at the LA Angels. Over in the National League, you have Pittsburgh, they're playing at Philadelphia. Milwaukee's playing at the Chicago Cubs. The Dodgers, they're playing at Arizona down in the desert. And St. Louis, they're playing at San Francisco, who's now 5 games back in the NL West. So they're having a hard time keeping up with the Dodgers in the playoff race. In the Central, you have St. Louis. They're 17 out behind Chicago. And in the East, you have New York trails Washington by 10 games. In the American League, you have Texas. They have a 9-game lead over Seattle. Cleveland's had a 6-game lead over Detroit. And Boston, they're in a tight race with Baltimore by 1 game over in the American League East, Big C. But as we get ready to wrap up today's show, I just want to reach out to Dabu Sweeney and Trent Dilfer, and for all the African-American lawyers that went to law school and they love this country because of freedom of speech, just keep in mind when you have people in power that get this free labor out of African-American athletes, whenever you speak up, they're saying shut up. So if they're saying that publicly, what do you think is like in corporate America, Big C? That's why a lot of people of color have had a hard time in the educational system and also in the workforce, because when you speak your mind, you're not just some big dumb athlete, you really get a lot of pushback. So these good old boys that make millions of dollars for being bigoted, in their opinion, that's just my opinion, I don't think that you have a fighting chance unless you have some legal representation. What would you say to anyone who's trying to push for social change? And again, Dr. Martin Luther King, I'm sure he'd be ashamed to hear people like Trent Dilfer and Dabu Sweeney say, sit down and shut up, just play sports. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, damn fool Sweeney should have opened the eyes of America today. I mean, Trent Dilfer put his foot in his mouth. Matter of fact, put the whole leg in there the other day talking about Colin Kaepernick. An issue that has nothing to do with him as far as social consciousness and awareness.
Yeah.
He will never have to deal with the plight of an African-American athlete or the plight of a former African-American athlete. Neither will Dabu Sweeney.
Yeah.
All he does is control the life of African-American athletes. Tell them he can take their scholarship.
Yeah.
He can lose whatever they've gotten that he's rewarded to him, which he has not.
Right.
The university gave it to him. And so, Charlton, I feel that America is totally out of place when they want to talk about the social injustice that is put on African Americans or any other culture, Charlton.
Yeah.
If it's not your race, you don't have the right to speak on it.
Yeah.
When you talk about social injustice, if it's happening to your family, social injustice, it's a different story. If it's happening to your race. But we all know, and this has been always throughout the history of America, and will continue. This is a Caucasian-run society.
Yeah.
Okay, whether it's politics, whether it's sports, whether it's religion. People can say, okay, you have an African-American president. Wow.
And look at how maligned he gets by the media.
What does the media say about him on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot of positive things, Charlton.
He's had more bills filibustered than any other president in the history of the United States, Big C.
When you look at the advancement of society, Charlton, we have African Americans who lived through oppression, through Jim Crow, still alive in America, and we still have Caucasians who impose that on these African Americans, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they have passed it on throughout the history of their lineage. So it is not dissipated, Charlton. It is still there. White America doesn't talk about the plight of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
We haven't had Donald Trump talk about David Duke. Does David Duke endorse him?
Oh, they're good old boy friends, though, Big C. They're friends.
Who was the leader of the KKK.
Yeah.
So, when you're talking about people like this, Charlton, and saying that they have a right to speak on the plight of African Americans and social consciousness, this still shows you the stupidity of America, whether it's in politics, whether it's in sports. And they're crossing over because you got these coaches and you got these broadcasters telling you that the situation of African Americans are unimportant in America.
Yeah.
Let them sit back, be quiet, accept the few of them that are making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
For the millions that are in poverty and living in injustice.
Yeah.
You can't justify it because you have a dozen black millionaires playing in the NFL and the NBA.
Yeah.
And you got tens of millions of African Americans who suffer daily from the plights of other Americans.
Well, Big C, I agree. I'm not going to sit down and shut up. And I hope that every parent, the next time Dabu Sweeney comes into your house and he wants your kids to come to his university, remember, college is to make your mind bright, to make you more intelligent, more erudite, and more well-read. He's going to tell you, sit down and shut up and let you play in sports from the Big C. And you can hear this Real Talk Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We're going to thank all of you for listening, especially in Latin America, you good old boys in England, as well as you good old boys up in the great country of Canada, and of course the great United States. It is the land of the free, home of the brave, and free speech is real unless you're African American, it seems sometimes, Big C, in some circles. And I don't just say that flippantly, but I also want to tell you, we thank you for listening, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.